Hi, welcome to the Palm Print. So today we're taking a little bit of a different direction, and we're talking to the talented Nana Brew-Hammond about her book, Powder Necklace, which came out about 4 years ago, right? So just sitting down, beautiful Saturday afternoon, having a conversation with Nana. So join us. Let's get started. Thanks again for coming through.
Thank you.
Joining us. Just wanted to, talk about you, celebrate your work. I know it's been 4 years since your book came out, and it's been doing very well. But I also know that Powder Necklace is not the only thing that you do, right? I was reading that you've been a screenwriter, you've been a playwright, and of course a fashion writer. What else? You mentioned photography. So, kind of like your show, there's like these different colors of Nana.
Yeah, I think it's being the child of African immigrants. They're like, figure out how to make some money off of this thing that you like to do. So, yes, I am a copywriter. Yeah. I am, I write articles on fashion. Yeah. I just write. I write for my supper. I've written a screenplay that was a Sundance finalist, and I've written a play. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think also too, because I didn't really, writing was always something for me that I didn't really always know that it could be a career. Yeah. Because my parents were like lawyer, doctor, investment banker, choose one. Yeah. So I just kind of tried my hand at all different kinds of writing. You rebelled. Well, ultimately I rebelled, but sort of most of it was just sort of squirreled away in my room, like saying, "Ooh, could I do this?" Like, I've written a poem that like Nike picked up and used and published. I just kind of. And I think it's been good because I think each genre of writing has something to teach you and strengthens you overall as a writer. Yeah. So,
just also reading about your background, you didn't study English writing or anything in college, right? So you just sort of did something else, but then the call or that pull to write just wasn't just gonna let you go.
So I went to Vassar College, which is they're very snobby about like literature and English literature, So I took a couple English classes, and for me they were very restrictive. I remember getting to an argument with one professor about sort of symbolism, and she was saying to me, we were treating a Christina Rossetti poem, and she was saying, I forget now, but it was something about like wings, and she was insisting that wings always mean this particular thing. Yeah. And I knew at that moment that I couldn't do English. And
sort of like have this, we're going to put you in this box because all these people before you have always been in this box.
Exactly. Yeah. Christina Rossetti, who knows what she meant by those wings, you know what I mean? But once you write it, you sort of give it to the reader, and then they take the meaning from it, and there doesn't have to be this sort of stricture around it. Yeah. So I knew that I couldn't be an English major, but I was a political science and Africana studies major, which I lived to write those papers. I would be like up all night like writing my papers, and for me, I got to write so much, and what was so great about it was that I wasn't writing about, not necessarily about other people's writings or the style choices that they made, but I was actually writing about events, history, different things, politics, and it really helped me to kind of shape and find my voice, or the beginning of that anyway, because I feel like one of the things that I don't know that I suffered it, but one of the things that sort of characterized me growing up is that because I grew up child of immigrants, it was always just sort of like, be quiet, observe, watch, and I didn't really, it was difficult for me to kind of like speak my mind. Yeah. And being a poli-sci and Africana studies major, it's like, it's all about just what's your opinion on this and what do you think, and like speaking back to power. Yeah. So that was really helpful. Yeah,
so that's interesting to explain that way. In Powder Necklace, there was a part where Leela, I call her Leela in my head.
Good. I call her Lila.
Lila, okay. Which is a name I like a lot. So when Lila gets to Ghana and her aunt Irene, she's just asking all these questions. Her aunt is telling her to do this, and this is the first time she's met her aunt. Her aunt just looks at her and says, "You ask too many questions. What is wrong with you?" Right? And when I read that, I said to myself, this thing of African parents always just restricting their kids and saying, "Don't ask a lot of questions." Do you think that, in a way, stunts creativity, or in terms of self-discovery? Because I mean, that's how kids explore their world.
I think it does, especially in the world that we live in, because it's funny. I had a friend from college that came to visit me in Ghana, and this girl was asking so many questions about everything. And culturally, some of the things that she was doing was disrespectful.
Yeah.
But it occurred to me as we were, we would have these conversations over and over again with her, explaining every minute detail of why we did what we were doing.
Yeah.
It occurred to me that this is, one of the reasons why I think the Western world is innovating a lot.
Yeah.
Because they're constantly asking
questions and challenging.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was just having a conversation about our culture of respect, which I think is amazing, and I don't want to lose that. But I do think that sometimes there's such, I grew up hearing children are to be seen and not heard.
And not heard, yeah.
And so, there's a sense that you can't challenge authority. Yeah. But you need, in a way, to kind of challenge authority to evolve it, or challenge tradition to evolve it to the next level, to improve upon it. Yeah. So I think there's that tension there, but at the same time, I know that with my parents, for example, the immigrant experience is just so different, and that's part of the survival mechanism, which is sort of like keeping your head low, figuring out where you fit in, squirreling away what you can. It's a sneaky life. It's a sneaky lifestyle. So, I mean, I think that they were just equipping us with what worked for them. And I think that that's the interesting thing. When they moved from one world to another,
it's almost like the word we left is always going to be that. And so we'll take that and we'll come here and we expect it to still... it's like a bubble that they're living in, right? I feel sometimes.
But I don't know how it could be any different, really, because I think that's also... Because I think as children, you don't really care what your parents are going through. But the reality is that they're also going through this immense, psychic damage mixed with, their own stuff. Yeah. So... I mean, for them, that preservation is critical because that's how they survive. Yeah. So, because, I can only imagine what it's like to grow up, a traditional, West African, come to a culture like this where, it's so different, and see your children kind of adopting the ways of this stranger. But they're your children, and you love them, and you want them to succeed. And so in them succeeding in this new world, they have to sort of leave you behind in a way. And that's scary, I would think, as a parent.